2, 3, 4, get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great. 9, gonna shine, life is good. I'm doing fine. 10, gonna do it right and do it again. You think, oh, 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 oh. Come on, come on, come on and sing, yeah. Come on, come on, come on and sing.
Welcome back, Jack Pack. Hey everyone. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna wait on my better half because he completes me. Tear, I know. But really, so I did wear my shirt today. It says "Teaching is a work of art." So we just kind of wanted to start the conversation or continue the conversation because it's been ongoing about our perspective for going back to school from a parent and a teacher's perspective, and kind of just answer some questions if you guys have any. If not, best believe I can talk this whole time about all of the viewpoints.
Whoa! What's up, y'all? What is up?
All right.
What were we talking to him about?
Life, you know?
Okay. All right.
So yeah, we've been talking about, this has been a conversation I think in our household just between us almost daily because I mean it's a hard decision just from a parent but also from a teacher, and just even as teachers I think we talk about all the possibilities.
So of course if you have questions or if you just want to comment and give your opinion, make sure you do that. We're going to give the live a second and invite some people so we can all have this conversation together. So don't think that I'm ignoring y'all right now because I'm not. I'm just inviting more people to the live, okay? So we can go live. But yeah, I think it's like a real important conversation that we're having. Of course, we share with you guys our whole experience with positive test in the family, and so. Of course, it just seems like this thing just never ends and keeps on going. So, I don't know. It's a hot button issue. A lot of people say we should go back. A lot of people say we should stay. And so we figured we would discuss it because we've kind of been absent from discussions on a lot of these. But, we're a family of 5. So I think it's important that we at least have the conversation with all of you. So... looks like we got a few more people checking in, so we'll just give it a second. But yeah, so are you gonna give your opinion at all?
I have mixed emotions. Okay, but in all honesty, is education better in person? Of course. I think kids need to be in person to learn. They need to have those hands-on experiences. They need to, they'll get more from it, those experiences to be able to remember the content. But is it safe for people to go back and return in groups, such as a school setting? I don't think so.
Well, here's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. And it gets very, very tricky. But we're at a point within the economy, and nobody's been talking about that. And so you're at a point where literally people are having to make the choice on, whether they stay home and lose income or whether they go to work. And a part of American culture that we don't like to talk about is there hasn't been single income homes have not been like a thing where you can support a family on one income since maybe like the 1960s. And so most households, that have a married couple, both parents are at work. And then when you have the single family or the single parent household, you have a dynamic where schools have become, and people hate to say this, they have become a form of childcare that allows the economy to keep on running and allows parents to go to work and allows children to be educated. And so I think in regular times, it's not a problem because it's a relationship where it benefits everybody. So the kids get educated, they get to build those social relationships, and mom and dad can go to work. But now if you take that away, you have the kids who are, you know, a lot of parents aren't trained to teach, and then you have the lack of social interaction, and then you have, if the parent has to stay home, then you have a loss of income, and there's no way to, like, you know, really, like, I don't know, you can't, there's no way to pay these people, you know, so I think that's the point that nobody wants to talk about.
I mean, it is hard because, I mean, you're right. And it's only going to be even harder on those people that either are forced to stay home because their kid's not old enough to stay by themselves. But, I mean, it's hard. So there's definitely no perfect decision and definitely no perfect way to cover everyone in the aspect that they need to be covered. But, I don't know. It's tough.
I mean, I think we should. It's like we're at a point where the my biggest frustration is that if you talk about like the position that like a lot of superintendents are in, is, you know, you're normally serving the interest of a vast amount of people, and so even from the superintendent perspective, I would hate to be a superintendent right now. I would hate to be a building principal. Anybody in administration, I would hate to be them, because you have like the federal government who kind of passed the buck down to the state government, and now the state government is passing the buck down to individuals who are having to listen to different people in the community to make a good decision. And so no matter what they do, they're going to be wrong because they're going to make somebody upset.
Correct.
My biggest thing is like, why are we just now trying to figure out a plan, or why wasn't there something that came down from the top that said what it would look like if we, in the event that this thing was that it was spiking and that the numbers were going up? Why did we not have anybody in place at the top levels? I'm not talking about superintendents or principals or anything, because this is above them. Why didn't we have a plan in place for what it looked like with school in a pandemic? I think that's the biggest thing.
I agree. I think I know there's been some videos of what they're doing in other countries, and I mean, I think that would make a lot of parents and teachers feel more comfortable about returning to school if they had some specific plans in place as far as like as kids enter. I know it's a controversial topic of checking temperatures. However, I think temperatures do catch some cases. Is it going to catch all? No, of course not, especially when children are most asymptomatic. But I mean, I think it does help some. But even like, what else did they have on there? They had them. They had a machine cleaning their shoes as they came in.
It was like a full, like, basically it was almost the way I could describe it is
airport
like
security.
Yeah, it was like airport security before you get
But
into.
it was like cleaning and disinfecting, and so yeah, I think that would definitely help ease the minds of teachers and staff, because we're not just talking about teachers here. We're talking about anybody that works in the building, because some teachers may have the option to teach online, but that's going to be contingent on the amount of kids that choose to go online. But not all of the staff in the building will have that option.
I mean, it's like we should have a process like that. It would only be for maybe, you know, as far as we can tell right now, they're predicting at least some type of therapeutic that's out or a vaccine December, January. Okay, so as the therapy gets better, you know, it doesn't become a big deal because, you know, you can treat people. And I think the thing that scares everybody, at least it scared me, was the fact that this is something that you can, you know, depending on how your body interacts with it, you can possibly die from. And so
the other thing, that scares me as well, but the other thing that people aren't thinking about is, kids are going to be fine, they're going to be fine, is the unknowns of the long-term effects. I think I know there's been some studies that show even asymptomatic cases have had scarring on their lungs. So no one's really thinking or talking about that because, it hasn't been long-term to really know any of that stuff.
I think that that's the thing. I don't think we know everything yet. And so I think everyone is trying to, you know, guess and catch up. The only thing that I don't like is that it's like it's starting to fall along like a political line of like, I believe this, and so because I believe what this group I belong to, what they're saying, then I'm not buying anything anybody else is saying. And I think it's a conversation where everybody needs to meet in the middle. And I just wish we had something in place that showed us what the school year was going to look like, even from the standpoint of like, how do you keep all these kids, because kids, I know a lot of people watch the TikTok things and they've been joking about it, but kids are gonna share masks. It's gonna be like it's going to be some things that spawn out of it, and I don't think we've thought them all through.
And not just that, I think just human nature. I mean, that's being around other people and interacting with them. I know, I think someone had mentioned, well, just, try to keep them, remain out of contact, which contact is being within 6 feet of someone for 15 minutes or longer. And that's typically without the face mask, face shield, and such. But I mean, then you can talk about cross-contamination, which is a whole nother spiral conversation. But in general, we don't think about, just interacting with kids in general, like going to make sure that they're okay, helping them along with their work, group work. I mean, some people are like, they need to go back to socialize, but that's not what the classroom is going to look like. It's going to be very, very different. And then, it's going to be hard on the kids, but also the teachers and staff trying to make sure that we are maintaining distance in the classroom, but in the hallways and lunch. I think it's going to be very difficult. It's just human nature to want to be around other people. I mean, look at us, even us being around immediate family, ended up potentially exposing us to the virus. So I don't know. I think it's definitely going to be challenging. But I agree. I think providing some guidance or some kind of topic or like some guidelines or some kind of something to help know what that will look like. That's the thing. Nobody's talked about it. And we're like most depending on, the school district, the state that you're in, most people are like 2 weeks out. And there is no visual for what, entry exit looks like. There is no visual for what the first day of, schools on most campuses. Again, that's going to be something that's like solved at the local level. But still, it just seems like to me that we should have like better plans. So I think even still, I feel like a lot of teachers are making the decision. It's almost like you're going to war, as a parent too, because those parents that are forced to make the decision for surviving, and they have to send their kids off, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I don't have the answer for it, but what can you do? There's gonna be parents who have to send their kids. There's going to be, parents who choose to keep their kids home. And I don't know that's the thing I think is so hard about this is like, every other, to me, like the best way I could put it is like, if you want to get rich, you watch what rich people are doing, right? Or if you want to get into shape, you watch what like in shape people. Like most people are not going to go to the fat guy and be like, hey, what are you doing to work out? Most people not going to go to the fat guy. And so, as the United States, it's like there are other countries who have not had cases in 100 days, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Why are we not reaching out and saying, okay, what did you guys do and how did you do it? And why don't we implement that? To me, it just seems like we're ignoring the fact that there are areas where people have this contained. There are areas where there are outbreaks, but they have things in place where school can go on. And so we have not looked anywhere else to see like what we're going to do or, how we're going to do it. It just makes no sense. In the comments, let us know, like, what are your concerns real quick? I'm going to go over here and read it real quick. I'm going to leave you just by yourself and I'm going to read them off to you. So what are your concerns? If I have any teachers or parents who are sending their kids back, let me know real quick what you guys are going to be doing.
I think something else, there's so many things around this topic, but another concern is the quarantine period. So, even if their parents are sending their kids to school, and then they end up being in quarantine, like that's going to have an effect. I think as a with their job, but also with the kids being away from school. I think what else? I think the impact of okay, so if just for instance with our family, if Kevin gets infected again, we all technically should be under quarantine. But how does that look across the board? So if we're both working, and then the kids essentially are taken out from school as well, I think that brings, no one's really thought about or has a plan in place that I've seen that addresses just teachers being out or kids being out. I think even someone brought up the substitutes. Like, what happens when a substitute is at different campuses and then they get infected? And does every one of those classes they were in potentially have to get quarantined? I mean, there's a lot of unknowns.
I mean, the best we can do is, I was one of those people, I was like, I think this is going to go away in the summer. And I'm not going to be optimistic. I want to think worst case scenario now. So worst case scenario, if things keep spiking, I guess the question is, in the comments, let us know if things were to continue on like an upward trajectory. Should we continue to be in school? Should we just fight through it? What do you guys think? Okay, I think that's the question that, everybody wants to know. Like, if we peaking,
I mean, I definitely think delaying will help, at least with the hospital capacities, but or in the treatment in general. But I mean, if everyone goes back in October, we're gonna end up peaking again. Like it's bound to happen. So, I mean, we could do like Spanish flu. Not gonna happen, I know.
I mean, it's that took a few years to tamper down. They did say they were asking a guy who lived through the Spanish flu what they did, and he was just like, "Well, we didn't go to school." But of course, the education then was a lot different.
Yeah.
You rarely did you have these districts and different things like that as organized as they are now. So although the education system now is it's more organized, and I think it's more beneficial, I think that is kind of playing against us, because it's like, people are so used to the system as is, whereas as if you were in the early, if you were in the 1918, you might go to third grade. There's I know we all got grandparents who like, hey, I only went to fifth grade or something like that. So it's a little bit different. So I don't think we can compare them, but I think some people are thinking that. Some people don't think it's real, and I think that just plays into that if you don't think something is real, then you're not really, there's no fear behind that. So
what do you think? And I mean, you guys as well. What do y'all think about going back and offering the option to return in person or go online? Then it's a parent's choice.
At this point, I mean,
are the teachers expendable? And the staff?
So I don't think they see it like that. I think they feel like it's safe enough. I don't feel like they're thinking worst case scenario, in which I think again, they're looking at other countries and saying, well, these people are open, but they're not looking at all the details and saying, okay, so what was the infection rate in this specific country when they opened up? If they've had outbreaks, how did they handle them? Because I think if for me, I would be just comfortable knowing, okay, this is what happens if, a school shuts down. And so like in Texas, we're keeping, I think the first football practice is maybe the 7th, and then for larger schools, 5 or 6A. And then the first games can be the 24th. So here's the question, because like professional teams, and they can go to, they like right now the NBA is in a bubble. Mm-hmm. And so they're isolated from everyone. So what happens if a kid is playing a game, and then we find out that kid was positive, does the whole team then quarantine? And if they played somebody else, does that team then?
Do they all get tested? But I mean, as we've seen and we've told you all, I mean, it took 2 weeks to get Zoe's test results. So, I mean, even if they wait to get tested, technically they should be quarantining in that time period as well. I don't know. There's a lot of questions, a lot of unknowns.
So I think the questions that we've been putting forth are questions that everybody has, but I guess people are gonna want to know, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing at this point? And so we're in that position where we're gonna have to send our kiddos back, and it's like we have a responsibility to teach kids, but also to protect our own. And so I think the one thing that has kind of made us a little bit more confident is, like, for instance, we just went and got the antibody test, and so at least that made me feel, that may be a false sense of comfort because we really don't know anything yet, but it at least made me feel like, okay, we at least know that our family has some,
Maybe some
maybe can fight this thing off. But if nobody had been a positive case, if we had an antibody test and we haven't had it, I don't know if I would be thinking the same way. I think the fact that we're thinking like that is just because, okay, hopefully we can fight this thing off. But
and there's not enough.
There's no data to show that we're right. Again,
Or wrong. There's not been a lot of research done on reinfections. So I don't know.
I mean, the biggest thing that I think I want to see how sports plays out. I think especially in you talk about the states that have the biggest sports or love for sports. So you talk about like California, Florida, Texas. You have literally like, it's almost a cultural thing where people don't want to lose their sports, and I think that plays a lot into it. I see even some of the college teams are, they're canceling it until the spring. But we got a comment. Stephanie, what's up, Stephanie?
Hey, Stephanie.
It's not under control like in other countries. So in-person schooling, absolutely no. Like you said, we need to be asking other countries. My husband is from Italy, and his family and friends are fine now. But they took the situation very seriously from the beginning, and they also medically treat COVID-19 differently. My husband was shocked when I told him that we aren't given anything immediately after testing positive.
I don't even think I realized that people, other countries were treating immediately after a positive test. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you? That makes total sense. To even not see how it plays out and not leave that uncertainty with people that are infected. Thank you, Stephanie.
I think, and Stephanie has some insight that I think a lot of people don't have, because if you have a family member who, they can be in the U.S. and then they have the ability to like see what's going on. Right. That's why I think people who travel the world they just have way more knowledge and wisdom than people who stay in one place, because you can see how different things happen different places. But like to your point, Stephanie, I have a friend, or I know several friends who like live in areas like Taiwan or South Korea, and it's totally different, and we didn't do the same things that they did. So I think culturally is just the difference here, because we haven't. I don't really feel like I still don't feel like we're taking it seriously.
Not at all. I think more people are, because more people are becoming infected. So it's hitting closer to home for some people. So it's easier to take it more serious when you have someone that that has been impacted by the virus. But I think if you don't know, ignorance is bliss. It's hard to really understand and really fear something that you haven't experienced or haven't seen anyone experience directly, or even experience in a drastic in a way like being hospitalized or anything like that. But I mean, it's out there. People are posting about it. I think people need to continue to share their stories too, because I think that's the thing is people just don't realize that it is impacting even children. I think that's the other thing. Like people are like, oh, but it's not affecting children.
Well,
we're good.
I think the thing is that we think about it, and when we say children, right? Like it's gonna affect someone just numbers wise. Somebody's gonna get sick, and even if it's 0.02% or whatever the statistic is, that means somebody is going to get sick, and this is gonna be something that they're fighting really tough. So I just think that I don't know. I think most people look at it like I know this thing to me and amongst kids doesn't seem as fatal, and so it's probably not going to affect me. But there was something else that someone said is what if you are in that unlucky percentage, and so that's a tough spot right there. I don't even know that. I wouldn't want to think about it. I don't think about it like that for the simple fact that I don't even like to let those thoughts like cross my mind. So I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people who are going to keep their kids at home. Some of our closest friends are going to keep their kids at home. And, I can't say that they're wrong, I can't say that they're wrong at all.
I think if we could, if we had someone available, then and it was an option, then we'd probably do the same. But then you look at it like, well, we're both going to be going out and potentially being exposed. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different factors that go into making that decision.
I think the thing I start to worry about too is just like teachers who may be in the high risk. What choice do you have? Is it you may be passionate, but if you know that you have certain issues or conditions that are going to affect you, I would not want to be in that spot at all. And so
definitely, I think I speak for most teachers. We love what we do. We go in the class. We want to teach the kids. We want to be in person because we know that's most effective. But we also don't want to risk our lives, our families' lives, or even our students' lives. Like, we care about them just as much as our kids. So I think thinking from that perspective, I think it's hard to be like, yeah, we should go back and everything's going to be fine. I don't know. It's tough. I think coming from or feeding off of what you were saying, I know I've seen people like they're 2 years from retirement. They're such and such years from retirement, and that's not an option for them. Or they're paying, just typical stuff, paying for kids in college or have kids at home, or single parents. That's just not an option to change professions. That's the argument I've seen a lot of people or a few people say, like, oh, why don't you just change professions? That's what other people would have to do. But I think you're talking about finding another job that is online, working from home, that would pay the same. And if you know of any of those jobs, please let us know, because I'm sure lots of people would want to be able to know about those as well.
I feel personally it's just like being deployed for war. I've never really thought about it. I have a appreciation for guys who have served. But, I never really thought about, like, when you're deploying for war, there's a possibility that you may not come back.
Risk,
and I feel like, I've always said I feel like everybody should teach or serve in some capacity. And so, I feel like this is our family's service point. Does it terrify me? Absolutely. But, in the same vein, hopefully, everyone comes out of this and, everybody is safe. And, I hope that these numbers are wrong. I see a lot of people saying it's a fluke. I really pray that it's a fluke. I pray that all of that is, if you say it's fake news, hey, I would love for that to be the case. But just everything that I've been seeing, the funniest thing is one of the kids I coached came to me and was like, this is February. And he was like, Coach, man, this coronavirus, my mom's worried about it. And it's like a 13-year-old kid. And I'm like, we had H1N1. You have nothing to worry about. But, you know, obviously that has changed. A couple weeks later, you know, that all changed. And so I think you have to mentally be in the mindset that this may be, you know, if you thinking this is fake, this may be for real. And so I'm of that mindset, and I just, you know, hey, I'm praying for the superintendents. Y'all got a hard job. Principals got a hard job. Everybody in the admin, you know, they got this is hard because you're about to make some people mad. And
no matter what you do.
Absolutely. No matter what you do. So, I mean, we just wanted to have this discussion with you guys about, you know, what your thoughts are on going back to school. You kind of know where we sit. Unless there's some major policy change or, you know, the kids have to do online, then, you know, we're kind of in that boat where, you know, we're in there. We're in there. So, you know, in the comments, let us know, like, what is your family doing? What do you think about that? Do you feel like your hand's been forced? Should there be another thing we didn't even talk about was like if there's a teacher who's high risk, right? And they want to teach but they can't. And should there be some type of
compensation?
You know, not compensation, but should there be like some program for at-risk teachers where, you know, that somehow that they can be stretched through this little time financially, like we can assist. I know some people are against that, but like, what do we do to help people who this is not their fault? I mean, they're not choosing to quit the profession or anything like that. So
the other thing we didn't talk about is if they do close schools, like what about people that have to send them to daycares? Like daycares essentially are like, what about us? You're gonna send more kids to us?
I mean, daycares have been open, and I think the argument people have been making is that you haven't seen a lot of outbreaks within child care centers. And I think child care centers, it seems like from different owners that I've talked to, there is a lot of stuff in place that they have to, you know, some hoops that they have to jump over to just stay open. And I don't know if it's the same in terms of like actual public school or private schools. I don't know if they're going to have to do the same things. But, you know, hopefully we all get through this all right. Was there anything else that we didn't talk to everyone about?
I'm sure there is.
It's such a heavy issue. We know we've been hitting y'all with the heavy stuff, but we promise we're going to be back. But we feel like, you know, y'all are a part of our family. And so when we have these discussions, like, you know, we feel like y'all need to be a part of the conversation. And so, again, thank you guys for watching. If you're on Facebook, make sure you like the Facebook page. YouTube, subscribe. And I promise you, we're going to have some un-COVID related videos coming. I'm going to be doing cooking tutorials. I'm going to do some stuff to take your mind off of it, you know. If you're scared of COVID, don't be. Be scared of something I cook. Okay, I'm gonna start a thing. I'm gonna start something called Kevin Can't Cook, and then I'm gonna try to airmail y'all meals that I just make up. I'm thinking about syrup sandwich with spinach. I'm thinking about, you know, a lot of different stuff.
So it's a good time to wrap it up.
All right, well, hey guys, we love you guys. I'm about to go turn the live off, but feel free to, you know, keep adding to the comments and let's keep the discussion going.
Thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, it's a lot, but we're here for it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching.